Welcome to Ukraine Today. My name is Tamara Rosovan, and in the newsroom we're joined by Mr. Bohdan Yaremenko, a former diplomat and now political analyst. We're going to discuss the Dutch-led investigation findings into the downing of Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 over eastern Ukraine last year. Welcome to Ukraine Today.
Good evening, Tamara.
So the Dutch-led investigation published a report and into exactly what brought down the MH17 flight, killing all 298 people on board. So now, question on everybody's mind, will they ever find the group which is responsible for bringing down that flight?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're correct. So the international expert investigation has found not just the type of the missiles that have been used to hit down the Boeing aircraft, but also they found the exact site. And we know for sure that this site was at that time controlled by the Russian-backed terrorists. So. But also we should keep in mind that it was just an expert investigation done by the experts of the civil aviation authorities. And right now we will be waiting for the criminal investigation to take place, and it's still unclear whether all sides or parties involved will conduct their own national criminal investigations or they will find some way to go forward with a joint international investigation. But anyway, just the criminal investigation, and then the court hearings must provide us with the answer who basically pulled the trigger and who gave an order. But anyway, the findings of this expert investigation is definitely proving that missile was produced by Russia. Basically, the launching vehicle was also produced by Russia, and the territory has been used for launch was under the control of the supported by Russia terrorists. So it looks like for the moment that there is no other way for criminal investigation but turn their eyes and minds towards Russia and to look for responsible for this terrible terrorist attack in Russian Federation.
Mm-hmm. Ukraine has been mentioned in this report for not closing its airspace so that the flight wouldn't have traveled in that region where fighting was going on at the time. Now, do you think that Ukraine could be potentially sued sometime in the future by the victims' families?
Oh, for sure, it was the case presented by Russian Federation since the very first minutes of the terrorist attack on this aircraft. And so the Russian Federation was trying to blame Ukraine for not closing its airspace, for looking for some financial benefits for international civil aviation transit over territory of Ukraine. But what has been found by international investigation is proving completely different story. So Ukraine was gradually closing or restricting their flight areas over the eastern Ukraine, first of all. Then Ukraine and Ukrainian civil aviation authorities had not really any financial reasons to push forward the issue of, let's say, levering or increasing the international aviation transit over Ukraine. And as well, which is, I believe, the point which is very important for our case, that in all other conflict areas examined by the international investigation, the same implications or the same regulations were in place by the national aviation authorities in all of the time that the conflicts were taking place. So as Russia has already started this campaign of blaming Ukraine, I cannot exclude that Russians or some other people could try to push the families of the victims to file the lawsuit. But in my opinion, there is no clear perspective for the lawsuit against Ukraine in this case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what about, we were just talking about that Russia is pursuing a different angle in this investigation. It also presented, the Russian state arms dealer presented their own version of what had happened earlier on Tuesday. What kind of implications do you think that presentation had, and what kind of, do you think, were the viewers at home affected by this? Do you think it influenced their opinion of what had happened over eastern Ukraine? And And internationally, what do you think the reaction to that presentation was?
Quite obvious that Russian Federation will try to make whomever possible responsible for this tragedy, but not Russian soldiers, Russian army, or Russian political leadership.
So what are the implications if Russia is actually found guilty of launching the Buk missile?
We still far, let's say, it's still not time to discuss the possibility of any, let's say, results of the criminal hearings. We didn't know even the framework, how those hearings could take place. We know that those 5 countries considering themselves the victims of these terrorist attacks, terrorist attack, are still considering the best and the most effective way of conducting the criminal investigation and creating the judicial system which could bring those who are responsible into justice for justice. But still, it's not clear. It looks like that they do not believe in the possibility to use the mechanisms of the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations General Assembly. Instead, they will be more concentrated on the International Criminal Court, or they would use their national judicial authorities to go ahead with the criminal investigation and criminal courts. To me, I believe the way of trying to use the national judiciary system would be much more effective, much more likely. We have the precedence of the Panam aircraft shot down over the Lockerbie in Scotland, and then
that's actually very similar to what happened over Ukraine. But the Libyan president, he later admitted that he paid a compensation to the victims' families.
The only difference is that at that time the UN has authorized the international investigation. Do
you think this is a path that Ukraine should also take?
Not just Ukraine. I believe all other countries involved, like Australia, like Malaysia, like Netherlands, and all others that lost the lives of their citizens, would be pushed at the end to use their national judiciary system, because, well, as of the International Criminal Court, there are still Russian Federation, Ukraine, and Malaysia are not parties of this court, so it looks that we will not be able to find a way to use the mechanisms of this court to press on those, no matter who the guilty is in this situation. But if they are in Russia, so it means that we will have any way to use the criminal court to punish them, to prosecute them, or to bring them into justice. So it looks like that first, all those countries, at least this is my opinion, that those 5 countries would use the mechanism of their national judiciary, and then they would negotiate the way, maybe some international treaty will be conducted, or maybe they will find some other instruments how to make those responsible for this terrible deed pay their price.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems that there's still quite a long way to go before those responsible for downing.
No doubt. It took, let's say, in the case mentioned by us in Lockerbie, it took, I believe, more than 7 years to accomplish and to conclude the court hearings and to have a verdict, and then a couple more years to bring those responsible into justice. So, yes, this is an international accident, so it's not as simple, and of course we have the UN Security Council member, nuclear state, probably responsible for this terrorist attack. So it's not going to be an easy situation, and it's not going to be similar scenario.
Mm-hmm. So I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
This has been Mr. Bohdan Yaremenko, a former diplomat and a political analyst. You've been watching Ukraine Today.